Do you suffer the I am in order to replay to these questions? Is there a psychologist, Lisa, a kind of diminished I am? As you can see, I seem to have many questions, but I am still. That's interesting, Dan, to have the questions and then say at the end of it, but I am still. That's yeah, why did you say that? I work with so many people and just perceive so many games that people are playing have done, you know, for 12 years now. I'm always looking for it. It could be just like matter of fact information and it means nothing, but it could also be a way of pushing me away and a way of like you trying to keep safe. Like I am still, like I am free, but I'm asking you these questions, and there could also be like a vulnerability in there. Like I ask these questions and I feel vulnerable that I'm asking another person these questions. I should know them for myself. It's all characteristic stuff that happens. Because from the I am still perspective, it doesn't care either way if you're still or not still. It doesn't want to tell someone or not tell someone. It's just experiencing. Do you suffer, and I don't know what you mean by do you suffer the I am in order to reply to these questions. Is there a psychologist, Lisa? Is the psychologist, Lisa, a kind of diminished I am? I don't really know what you mean by that. I think I see things differently from you. Yes, it's too hard for me to try to merge my way of seeing and speaking about things to your way. Like I'm not really sure. So maybe you could elaborate on that question. I don't know how you surrender the I am in order to reply to these questions. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It's just that I don't know. I don't find meaning in that. It doesn't relate to my experience. Is the psychologist, Lisa, a kind of diminish I am? I don't know what that means. Yeah, so maybe you could elaborate or put it in a slightly different way. Surrendering the I am was in reference to replying on the mind in order to reply to these questions. I understand from what you say now. Like, so by going into the mind, do I lose connection with what is? It doesn't feel like it. But it feels more expansive to speak about non-duality than it does to speak about psychology. But it doesn't feel like I lose connection with what is. But I think it's super important to speak about psychology as well. When you've been a teacher for a period of time and you realize the mental states that people come to non-duality in, there needs to be a certain amount of speaking about psychology from my perspective. Because yeah, it doesn't seem that the expression of non-duality doesn't seem to work when people are in a really bad mental state, and so there needs to be a pointing to more calmness in the flow of things and in the character. Otherwise, what can often happen, especially with the young men that come to the talks, is they begin to go even more into their already suicidal thoughts. Can happen in women, but I've seen it in lots of young men. They come to this and they're bypassing doing the psychology because they're too ashamed to do the psychology. So they come to this because it's the promise of enlightenment and then becoming like Jesus Christ, and they're like, okay, I can cope with that. But they really need to deal with the psychology. as well. Otherwise, it's not good. And also just for general people as well, I try to point the psychology, so in a way their mind can give up on that route, so when they feel like no, so the thought comes up like no practice is working for me. I know that's not true when people say that to me, like practices don't work for me. It's just that they've got a disbalance in the solar plexus, and there is a fear of choices and there is a fear of action, and the idea of practice triggers all their past experiences, and so therefore they don't practice, or they move away from this subject because it involves practice. And so just pointing that thought out means that people can go beyond those thoughts and see that who they are is beyond that these thoughts aren't truth, these thoughts are illusions that are arising. Just saying to them, when somebody says that practices don't work for me, just saying that that's an illusion is true, but it's most probably not deep enough. They most probably have to see the source of that thought, that when they were younger, they got conditioned into believing they weren't capable of doing things, or that they couldn't do things, or that things didn't work out of them, and that they have an injury there. And when they can stay with that feeling, then it will reduce all this illusory surface thoughts of sitting there trying to practice and being like, I can't do this, it's not working. And you get to a deeper perspective of the illusion, and that it's not true. And what is true is this. This is it, baby. This is home. This is freedom. What is?